I call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Will staff please do roll call?
Andrew Stump. Here. Morgan White.
Here.
Luke Westalker.
Here.
Sarah Womack.
Here.
Jessica Limcool. Cavender Patel.
Here.
Okay, we can now move on to the approval of past minutes as distributed to the committee. This is for June 3rd, 2025. Are there any corrections? If not, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Andy. And now, is there any public input? I don't see anyone else. So then we can just move on to our presentation. So the first one is by Susan Monty about household hazardous waste facilities.
Could you press that push button on the mic, please? Any of the two work?
Where did that voice come from? Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Check. All right, so much has happened since our my last time presenting to this commission. So I'm glad to have the chance to come before you again, almost 2 years later. So, Invest in a Safe, Clean Future is our capital campaign, which is ongoing. And it will be ongoing for a bit longer because as long as we have prospective contributors to talk with, we have no reason to end our capital campaign. Let me just figure out why this thing is advancing. So our capital campaign is ongoing since we're on the second year right now, possibly into the third year. We have had success in raising nearly 60% of our original total construction cost estimate, which is $2,850,000. That's what we estimated the total project capital costs to be. And as we speak, our architect is updating his estimate of the total project capital costs. And so we're not as far as we think we are, probably because the costs have likely increased. So that's just one of the changes. This whole process has been one of constant adjusting and changes, and that's just the way it goes with these kind of projects. So we're happy to have this amount of success, and we have some important work to do in raising some additional funds. Since I've met with you, there is a new household hazardous waste collection facility about to be constructed in South Holland at the South Suburban College campus, right on the campus. So I had a chance to visit with them a week or two ago, talked with some of the property people there, and I'm inspired and motivated to now talk with Parkland College and see if they'd be interested in any kind of partnerships with our nonprofit to sort of have mutually beneficial kind of outcomes for both students, employers, and including the household hazardous waste collection facility. So I am planning to do that soon. Reach out to Parkland College. There could be some exciting partnerships, such as forklift operator, which they already have a program, any kind of other sustainability kind of coursework could relate. And I guess that's something we can be very excited about. I've heard also that in Jackson County, in far south part of Illinois, they're looking at a smaller scale household hazardous waste collection facility to develop. Most exciting to me is, since our last time together, extended producer responsibility legislation has really come along here in Illinois, so that consumer electronics is now more broadly accepted at collection events here in Champaign County and across the state under the Consumer Electronics Recycling Act, which is another extended producer responsibility type of legislation where the manufacturers and producers pay to recycle all goods collected. So now, as you saw perhaps on this handout I provided, covered electronic devices can be accepted from a person. And that can be broadly interpreted. It could include anybody who has these items. And there will be limits on the numbers, 7 or fewer, but that's a great opportunity to advance this program and make it more convenient for all parts of our population. So that's pretty exciting, and that passed this year. And it may take a while to be implemented soon. I mean, it usually takes about 1 year, a year and a half to implement through the state and the product responsibility organization that will coordinate that. Also very exciting is paint EPR legislation has passed, and it's going to be starting to be implemented here in Illinois as soon as this December. So this is wonderful. As you see from the handout on the other side of the page, entities can include businesses with limitations perhaps to oil-based paint quantities. And there's options even if they have large quantities. The Paint Care organization will arrange for pickup. So this is wonderful news. No longer will latex have to be refused as it is presently, because latex is not toxic. It was never included as a household hazardous waste. So now, of course, most people don't know, but latex paint can be recycled, and it will be here in Illinois, so that's wonderful. Portable batteries, another piece of EPR legislation has passed, and it will be implemented over the next couple of years. Consumers, that's who this applies to, and so that includes anyone with portable batteries. It's wonderful. Still, though, however, household hazardous waste will be limited to residents, not businesses. And that's just the structure of the law at present and the Illinois EPA regulations and requirements. So that will not change. However, an extended producer responsibility piece of legislation was introduced in 2025 in January for household hazardous waste. So I'm very happy about that. And it didn't pass through committee this past session. And right now, further negotiations are being required and understood that will be necessary to get various entities on board and supportive of this bill. Additional tweaks have been made to the language. I even made some, I am pushing for some suggested adjustments to the language of this to assure that East Central Illinois will remain covered as convenience standards are developed. So this is a wonderful piece of legislation which will be further developed and reintroduced in January of 2026 to that session. We don't expect it to be ready for or be considered during any veto session in 2025. And that's an exciting piece of legislation, and I am working to be patient as it is further adjusted and negotiated, because I cannot wait to bring a resolution forward to both the City of Urbana and the City of Champaign to get them get their approval and sign off on this piece of legislation so that I can produce and provide those resolutions to Representative Carol Ammons for her support of the bill. So just trying to be patient about that, and City of Urbana and the City of Champaign, once the language for that revised bill is available, maybe December, maybe January, maybe February, I will be back in front of those bodies to try to get the resolution approved. And then I of course, will provide those to Representative Ammons. Another thing that is happening with all the changes is the timeline. It is creeping forward, and it's presently looking like this, if you can read that. Earliest possible feasible date that a facility could be operational might be December of 2027. So we're working along, doing what we can as we can. We're gearing up to request a permit that requires some preparation. And we know that period is 180 days or 6 months. So we just want to have everything ready for our application, and that takes a while. So our main focus at present is the capital campaign. So nothing has changed about the dangers of household hazardous waste. Includes all these kind of risks, accidental poisonings, injuries, house fires, increased risk to our public service workers and emergency response people, damage to residential septic systems, and contamination potentially of soil, groundwater, lakes, and streams. So it's still the case that this facility merits public support, and we are working hard to reach out to businesses, to local governments, and anywhere that we can identify potential, and individuals, I should say. We're even talking to church groups, anywhere we can talk. Our team is ready to make a presentation and do what we can to get additional contributions. So thank you very much for listening. I am happy to take any questions. Hope this wasn't too confusing. And like, haven't you heard a lot of this before, for example, right?
Susan, thanks for that presentation. It's amazing that the high dollar amounts, and you've got 60% all the way there so far. That's amazing. So thank you for all that work.
You're welcome. All right, any questions,
a
you know where to
question.
reach me.
I have a question. So, if I may, okay. One of the bullet points was increased risk of fire. Does the hazardous waste actually increase the likelihood in some way, or the chances of a fire, or is it the dangers of fires where
Right.
there's hazardous materials?
Well, depending on the type of hazardous waste or hazardous material stored in a home, for example, if it's not stored according to directions on its container properly and in the right temperature, or if it's mixed with another product, for example, or if it's a lithium battery. I mean, those things can ignite if they're not happy. So
Got it.
really, it is an increased risk once a fire starts that there can be explosions and toxic fumes due to the hazardous waste present, even if they weren't the reason. So it's just not a good thing to have stored a lot of in your homes. And most people do store over 120 pounds on average. It's been calculated or estimated by the EPA.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much. I appreciate the
I have a question,
opportunity.
Susan.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
You were talking about before including renewable energy installations with the building. Is that still?
Yes, we really want to see the building complete with geothermal system and solar. We may need to wait to install the solar, depending on our latest round of estimates. But geothermal is not the kind of thing you can wait on, we don't think. So would you agree with that? I mean, it's better to install it instead of coming back and installing it and refitting all of your utility system, HVAC system. So we would like to have the building start with that at least.
Yeah, thank you for coming here today.
All right, bye for now.
Okay, we can now move on to staff report then.
A few updates. First on geothermal Urbana-Champaign, our bulk geothermal purchase program. I just got some numbers since this staff report went out. So far, we have our final geothermal power hour tomorrow. Folks who are interested in getting an installation by the end of the calendar year, when the tax credit ends, would have to move very quickly. But one more power hour tomorrow. We have sold 8 installations totaling 35 tons so far. We've had a couple of installations that were very large, and so the ton number is a little bit high compared to what you might expect for 8 houses. So that's just a little bit more than we did last year. There's a potential that there's a couple more installations that may come through before the program's over, so we'll see. Moving on to U-Cycle, we've talked, I think in the past, we have we competitively select a vendor to do the collections for one vendor for the curbside collections and a separate contract for the multifamily collections. We have new vendors on both of those contracts this year. We have been seeing month-on-month improvement with our curbside collections vendor. So that's great. It's been like 4 months in a row or 5 months in a row, whatever it is, improvement every single month in terms of reducing missed collections. It really makes a difference that, having more experience, understanding that there's a dead-end street over there and that sort of thing. So great to see improvement. Moving on to municipal electric aggregation. We have executed a contract for a municipal electric aggregation supply for all residential and small commercial accounts. That would start with May of next year. So we're out of a contract right now, you probably know. This would start May of next year, and the pricing, I didn't put it in here. The pricing is 12.88 cents, which is quite high. We just came off of, I think it was 12 cents with the Ameren default. But our consultant is projecting that prices are going to continue to go up again starting next summer. And so this is another supply option that folks can choose. This will be an automatic enrollment with a letter that gives everyone an opportunity to opt out before the supply contract begins. And of course, addresses, households can opt out at any time during the contract. So it's just another supply option that hopefully is going to be hedging against other price rises. And lastly, the city is evaluating a community solar subscription that would be appended to all of our streetlight and traffic light accounts. So community solar is where there's a large solar array somewhere out there in Ameren territory, and we subscribe our electricity to that array. And these are typically offered at 5 or 10% discount as compared to the default electricity supply as it happens to be published in that particular month. So we're looking at putting all of our streetlight and traffic light accounts into a subscription, and just working through some of the details with the vendor. Take any questions you may have.
Is there, what's the reason to do the streetlights and traffic lights and not more of the buildings as well, the facilities?
City Hall is already on a 15-year community solar subscription as the anchor tenant for our landfill solar development. Several of our other buildings, 2 of our other buildings are on behind the meter solar installations. They have solar at the property. 2, 3 other buildings, as soon as they finish construction or a remodel, are good candidates for on-site solar, so we'll be doing that there. That'd be the 2 fire stations and Public Works. And the last building is the library, the library is quasi-independent, but we support their electricity procurement. We're holding back their supply or their demand to be an anchor tenant for the next landfill solar development. So they would be the anchor, subscribe 100% of their electricity to that array, and that would probably also be a longer term, like 15 years. And that's kind of it for us. So
The answer is, it's the only thing left.
it's the only thing
I
left.
love it. That's great. Thanks. had another question, but I can't remember it, so I'll stop.
So for the geothermal, when the tax credits go away, is it still feasible to have a program?
That's a good question. I could cut both ways. Maybe the interest in geothermal wanes and we shouldn't have a program, a bulk purchase program, or maybe because the cost structure is not as handsome as it was this year, the program is needed more than ever. We'll have to think about that.
I think the small commercial still might fall under the tax credit.
Small commercial might,
Yeah. So you might think about keeping that, and if you
yeah,
may promote the small commercial
yeah.
part of it. Also, the U-Cycle, I checked the web link and it goes to a blank page
The,
under the U-Cycle.
so it does.
Sure why, but
That was supposed to go to the missed collections. Thank you for mentioning that. I'll double check that that's still operable.
Yeah,
later
when
on.
you just Google it, the website comes up. I think there's just a little error.
I remembered my other question, and I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but is there going to be a pumpkin smash?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Susan left. The date, I don't remember the date off the top of my head.
It's
but yes.
after Halloween,
Right.
but it would be on
It'd be a
the
Saturday, probably the
city
next
website.
Saturday.
Okay. City Facebook page or social media?
Yeah,
Okay.
do you
Thanks.
want me to advertise that to the students again?
sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you also sent the Resilience Annual Report a few weeks ago. Was there like anything really noteworthy from that? Because I kind of went through it. I think we've seen a lot of the graphs before. Was there anything worth sharing?
No substantial changes. We do two different greenhouse gas inventories. One is the city facilities and operations, and the other is the entire community. And we do one of them every other year. So I think this was the on year, or 2024 was the on year for municipal. So that one would have been updated. So there'd be no data point for the community. I think everything else is just kind of slowly trending in the right direction, but no big changes there. Okay.
Any other comments or questions on the staff report?
Scott, thanks for answering my questions. For
Sure.
reports.
Okay. If not, we can move on to unfinished business, which is just our placeholder discussion of SAC's role. So just as a reminder, this is kind of an opportunity for us to bring up new concerns or new topics we all look into, or other ways we can be useful as a committee. Something I was hoping to quickly discuss today is potential speakers for some of the next meetings, who people want to bring in, and also if our new members have any initiatives or things that interest them that we might want to add to the agenda for some meetings in the future.
So one of the things about our commission was that in past groups, there was not an availability to, like the commission members didn't have much capacity to do a lot of work outside and support initiatives that as a commission we could potentially do. But for the half of you that are new members, is that something that we should be considering currently? Like you might be able to, I don't know, like if we, a longer ago past membership had more capacity and did things like work with the city staff, Scott and others, to host a Midwest Grows Green event or a rain barrel compost bin sale or a, I don't know, things like that. And we had not been discussing those as options when we were last talking, just because we didn't have any sort of availability. We didn't have much availability. So what do you think? I saw you.
Yeah, I would be in support of that. I would have to think more about anything that I could, think of any ideas, but I would definitely like to do that.
I agree. I would also like to do that. And I was going to ask, are there any things that, like as a new person coming in, like any needs that I could help fill in specific, since I don't have previous experiences?
So our big public-facing effort in this calendar year has been the bulk geothermal bulk purchase program. That's coming to an end, and that's one of those things where there's, the more folks can repeat the announcements through their networks, that all helps. In the next couple of months, I'm not sure that there's a big public-facing effort, although the pumpkin smash is coming up, and Susan actually is going to be leading that, or her folks from her organization are going to be leading that. It'll be at the Landscape Recycling Center, where we'll be accepting pumpkins for composting. So, that's actually reach out to Susan, because she's going to be organizing. They typically have some folks there to assist, hand out some literature, and talk with folks. So that's a possibility.
One of the things we've talked about in the past as commission members is the opportunity to meet with other people on campus, or not on campus, in the community, and sort of find out what, from the community perspective, is kind of like desired or needed, or an opportunity that either the city or a group of volunteers could help address. So like these are kind of that investigating what's out there by talking to people and having those conversations. There's also, in the past, we've talked through, there are things that perhaps the city could be doing, but it needs additional back end, like front end research in terms of, like at one point there was a discussion about what would be a reasonable type of requirement within, I guess it'd be the city documents about electric vehicle charging stations, or for new construction, and there's a lot of components kind of from the planning aspect that if effort went into figuring out what we want to be recommending, we could then as a commission push that forward. Go ahead.
I recently, or a couple months ago, I met with a member of, I think, the Makerspace at down in the media center, and he was telling me, I don't know if this has been brought up in other board meetings, but he was telling me about a push to put some sort of, I know this falls back with what I was talking about last meeting with my project, but it would be some sort of sensor node at the top of the 100-foot pole or tower. I think it's behind that building, which would provide a gateway for, basically, in short, it would be a one-hop transit for any node contributing on this network, and that would bring rainwater data from rural areas in Champaign County and tons of temperature metrics from these sensors that are out in the rural edges of Champaign County, because you'd be able to see there'd be a pretty far line of sight distance. And I was wondering if this has been brought up in any of the other meetings. I'll have to double check. I forgot what his last name was, but it was definitely something that I thought was worth looking into.
What was the structure that they were thinking about?
I
putting there?
don't know exactly. I'd have to pull it up, but some sort of tower that was maybe in that general vicinity behind behind the post office.
Were they saying it was already there? And it
The
would just
tower
need a
was
node
already, and
added
it would
to
need
the-
like city permission and some experienced technician to install it.
If it's a city property, that would sound like a license agreement
Mhm.
possibility. So I would just recommend talking to the engineering section at Public Works.
Mhm.
Maybe it's a matter of inviting that as one of the
Yeah.
speakers we could talk through.
Yeah,
what they're-
I'll try and do that. The next meeting is November, or assuming.
Probably. But also, Luke, we had that document, but I don't know where that's available to show our newer members. It was a draft, right, list of priorities?
Yeah, so
Yeah, go ahead.
I just found that, so I'll send that to everyone. It was a resolution we passed in March, which was kind of going through the 15 priorities we identified. And then I'll also send a link to the Imagine Urbana comprehensive plan that was passed to kind of just give an idea about some of the goals that have been identified over the past year. And I think especially right now, it's just kind of choosing some priorities we want to pursue and then talking about how best to go about that.
And I know that the city leadership has changed in the last few months. What was it, 6 months ago? And so if there's an opportunity to, talk with the head of community development or the new city administrator, I find that interesting to have them come and tell us what their vision of sustainability in the city is, as opposed to us sending information to them, ask them what do they want to see, and then that might lead to things we could help with.
I was wondering if it's worth inviting the mayor to one of our future next meetings, because we sent the resolution to the previous mayor, and then the administration turned over. So now we should probably resend it, and it might be worth also inviting them and talking about these initiatives and also hearing what their priorities are. Is that a reasonable thing for us to do?
Sure.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just wondering, would it be, maybe it makes sense to have it be a group of them, right?
So
I don't know.
city admin, mayor, what are some other roles?
Head of community development and the city engineer. Sorry, no, not city engineer, public works director. There's 2 people there. The higher one, I
Okay.
listed the wrong one. Scott, there was for a very brief time a small sustainability grant at the city. Which group, which organization was that under? Community development,
The Community Development Grants Management Program.
grants management program. It'd be nice to talk with that group, but I guess the head of community development would be someone we could talk to about how do we get that started again.
Whether there was updates on the projects that got funded.
I don't know if there's a document update. The staff person that was running that program has left the city's employ. So I know that it happened, grants were made. I don't know if there was a summary. Let me look into that.
But a lot of this is that we as a commission are representing the community. We're community members providing input and thoughts towards the city on this particular topic. And so in one way of looking at it, we get to decide what we would like to be doing and supporting and advocating for, but we need to just try to also represent a group, right? Like we can say our own opinion because we are valid as individuals, but also like our neighborhood, or, you know, you're still at the high school, so your classmates, right? That kind of thing, coworkers, but for the community. And so it's really up to us about what we are interested in doing and supporting ourselves, and what we want to advocate for as support for the city, and then what we also want to amplify as far as messaging and information. So it's very open, which makes it hard, right? It's not like somebody saying, go get this done, you have a homework assignment, or you have a to-do item. Any thoughts?
Are there any things that have like worked really well in the past, or like you've really enjoyed, because you said you've been here a little while, some things that like have been really good that maybe we could look into bringing back around?
I love the stuff that we've had as successes. And like when I asked that question about the solar, why only the street lights and everything, it's because we kind of have everything else already in a plan. So that's the kind of success I think of. So I'm not sure that I don't know how that replicates. Yeah, so I don't have a good answer myself, but Andy's been on it for a while too. Things that we liked that that maybe we should help restart. That's what Sarah asked.
I mean, we had the rain barrel sales and such, so those were really well attended, or well purchased, I guess.
So we helped, so it was the city 2-year plan that was passed earlier this year, right? That's what that was, or?
Every 2 years, the council passes a mayor and council goals.
The mayor and council goals.
Which is kind of short-term, above the normal routine projects.
And then has any work been done on rewriting the community climate action plan? Because I do see that as one of the goals in Imagine Urbana, and I know that SAC was going to be tapped to help do that. Have there been any conversations?
There hasn't been any direction, hasn't been any resources
Okay.
devoted to that yet.
See, so that's the kind of thing that, you know, if we have knowledge that the city leadership is interested in having that be a current effort, then our commission members could actually choose to draft something as a starting point. So a lot of times it's hard for someone whose job is not entirely in sustainability to know what ought to be in there, right? And so it's not easy to get started. So we could help with like a catalyst to get some of that started.
Yeah, because I mean, in the past, we wrote the climate action plan, the committee,
The original.
and the water plan. So we actually did it ourselves with Scott's help.
We could do that again, as long as we have time.
So I looked, and our next meeting is actually December 2nd, so we don't have a November meeting. So I can invite those 4-5 people to the meeting, and we can maybe mention the climate action plan. Is there anything else that we want them to bring to the meeting?
The status of the sustainability grants program.
Okay.
What was it called? Was it just sustainability grants program?
SUN for short,
Yeah, so Sustainable
SUN.
Urbana something.
neighborhood grant, something like that. Mhm.
The status of that.
Scott, are you providing the report to the city council?
Regarding,
The report you're just finished, you're writing Does it go to the city council?
The resilience one?
Yeah,
Like the annual report?
yeah,
No,
okay. And they wouldn't necessarily see it.
it's on the website.
So that could be in the message you send, Luke, or you put together.
And some typos and other things were pointed out to me, so I have an updated version.
Awesome. Are there any other things we could use that time to present to these people? I know has there been any motion on the plastic bag fee tax thing? We can bring that up again. We do have a slide deck for it, but I don't know if that's a good use of the time. Okay, so I can send this email inviting them to the December 2nd meeting. And then since we have about 2 months, we can maybe draft like kind of an agenda and things we want to bring up, and I'll just kind of send that out.
I like it.
Okay. Anything else regarding?
I just wanted to say, there's been a recently formed group at the high school called the Urbana Students for Environmental Concerns that would be willing to partake in any sort of volunteering or helping any of the initiatives. If the city was to do something like the rain barrel event, there's a decent amount of people who would be really, really eager to help, and I can spread the word.
It might not be a bad idea to invite a bunch of different groups like that to one meeting and have everyone give like a 5-10 minute spiel, and also interconnect all of them too. That might be a nice way of us kind of networking and connecting people between the university and high school and community.
It'd be nice to have them at the December 2 meeting if that's when we can get the leadership, not necessarily as speakers, but as attendees.
Okay, yeah.
When you were talking about additional speakers maybe in the spring at this stage, I recommend inviting our campus landscape architect from the university, which is Bridget Moen. She started recently on campus as opposed to elsewhere in town. We can talk about all the different things that we're doing for sustainable land efforts on campus.
Okay. Anything else regarding this? Is there any new business?
I just want to point out about an event.
Yes.
Okay, there is a Red Oak Rain Garden Illuminating Art in Nature event on the 30th, so the day before Halloween at dark, so it's like 4:30 to 9. There's an amazing group of students are working on art. So they're carving pumpkins, and there's other art made from nature found at the Red Oak Rain Garden. And then there will be a pumpkin judging aspect from, identified judges at 6 o'clock, I think, or maybe 6:30 on October 30th at the Red Oak Rain Garden. And the art the art on the pumpkins and elsewhere is in the realm of Studio Ghibli anime images. So it's going to be well attended. There's going to be some tables that have speakers on various, or not speakers, but information about various sustainability and rain garden information. So that's open to the public. It will certainly have lots of families there, and I'm going to be there for some of it at least. Do you have a question on it?
The Red Oak Rain Garden is the one across from Cersei, right?
It is, yes, it is between Dorner Drive on campus and Lincoln Avenue, between McKinley Health Clinic and LAR Lincoln Avenue Residence
Yeah.
Hall and Allen Hall, and you can access it very easily if you're just past Cersei on
Yeah.
that street, which is called Dorno Drive, kind of close to Pennsylvania Avenue. Well, in the block, the other end has
Yeah.
Pennsylvania Avenue Residence Hall.
Cool. I remember passing by there many times, but I didn't know if it was moved or anything.
It is enhanced and beautiful. There's a bridge, there's art. It's going to be a really nice event. I have another event, which I don't know the full title of it, so I call it the Green Infrastructure Conference. So there's October 23 is the Illinois Green Infrastructure, I think it's and Erosion Control Conference. It is a free event, so you can register online and learn about good stormwater management. And it's at the iHotel and Conference Center.
Can we use the SAC email to send, like, the committee these events and stuff? Like, that's a fine use of the email.
Any official commission business, use the City of Urbana email address you
Yeah.
have.
Okay.
Or let me rephrase, anything that is related to the Sustainability Advisory Commission.
Yeah.
Use that email address.
I'll also make sure that more information about the pumpkin smash gets sent out since we don't have a meeting before then. Any other events? New business? If not, I adjourn the meeting at 7:47. Thank you all.